Adam Sos here for Rebel News, and we are on location at the 1 Million March for Children protest that is taking place here in Calgary. Now, many of these protests kick-started here in Calgary after a Muslim student in Edmonton was told they were fundamentally un-Canadian for sitting out a Pride event because it didn't align with their faith.
Well, I'll tell you, you are out to lunch if you think it's acceptable to not show up because you think if there's some Pride activities going on at school.
Since that time, there's been a number of protests, but this is no doubt the biggest. Hundreds have gathered here at the Harry Hayes building in Calgary, and hundreds more have gathered across the street in counter-protest. We will be here all day covering this story, bringing you the story it unfolds. You can find all of these stories at stopclassroomgrooming.com. Oh, yeah.
Brothers and sisters, the other side, they're coming here to tell us they want to sexualize and indoctrinate our children. Are you agreeing with them? I wanted to tell them we are here, we respect them. We have nothing to do with them. We respect their choice, but leave our kids alone.
Leave our kids alone.
Leave our kids alone.
Leave our kids alone.
So I am now joined by Mahmoud Moura. You are one of the organizers of this event, but I mean, I think in a major way, these events kicked off across Canada because of what happened in the Edmonton school. How important is it to be here today, and how important is it that this protest is taking place right across Canada?
First of all, I want to tell something to the mainstream media and the television. I heard it in the news today. We are here against the LGBTQ plus community. This is absolutely false info. They are our brothers and sisters in humanity. I don't care what their gender or what sexual orientation, whoever they are. All we want our kids to be left alone. What happened in the Edmonton school to that Muslim kids, if the LGBT and a politician took a proper stand to at least criticize that teacher and hold her accountable for what she has done, I guess none of this would happen. But they ignore it, and now they fueling the problem, and they are fueling the hate. We're not fueling the hate. Yes, Calgary proud to start and ignite this rally across the nation. We are part of the 1 Million Nation. It's a grassroots movement. There's no political agenda behind it or nothing. All we're asking here is to leave our kids alone, let them determine what they want out of this life, grow up in a safe and secure environment, even if it's LGBT kids or our kids. Let the kids be kids till they are adult and decide what they want out of this life.
Each and every single individual, parents, families, all different faiths, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Sikh, atheism, atheists, agnostic, whatever you are, this is not a matter of one faith or one religion. This is a matter of protecting our own children, having the healthy education that will preserve our own values. Listen, if parents lost their own children, you're standing in front of a person who lost everything.
Yeah.
And you don't want to fight those kinds of people. Someone who lost everything, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Spreading that kind of education and forcing it to people is basically destroying the one thing that uniques out Canada: diversity and freedom.
God is first and family is the second. If we lose our children, we will lose effectively our country. I mean, there are certain things that in society should be holy. What I mean by this, untouchable, elderly, veterans, and of course the children, because the children are innocent. They don't know any better. They look at the adults and they think, well, if the adults are leading us into this, then that means they know better because they're adults and they want to believe them, they want to trust them, and oops, their life is completely destroyed for the rest of their lives. I mean, as a pastor, I deal with that trauma on a regular basis.
I'm so sympathetic to the parents and the children, the students who are here, because when I was growing up, I was struggling with same-sex attraction and not knowing what to do. And I needed my support, my church, my community to stand up for what I am now, which is a Christian, and I'm glad to be that. But in our generation now, I know young people are so confused. I heard the story of a 13-year-old girl who came out as gay. Her dad asked, well, what does that mean? And she said, oh, I'm in love with my best friend who's a girl. And dad's like, well, being gay means you're sexually attracted to that girl. And his daughter said, ew, that's gross. She had no idea what the word gay meant. And we have a generation, according to Newsweek, that 40% of them identify as LGBTQ. which tells me these kids don't actually understand what they're talking about. And the other side is talking about protecting queer kids, when in fact what's happening, there's indoctrination, there's an ideology that says you must be this identity if you have even this one thought or feeling. And what we're standing here on this side is saying, no, parents have that responsibility, that have right, and I'm so glad my parents protected me. I'm hoping we can do the same for this generation.
Well, I just had a son that was just born, and I have 9 or 8, almost 9 nieces and nephews. And I just think that the kids are our future. And if we don't protect our children, our society is ruined. And I don't care what adults decide to do. I believe in freedom. I believe that after you're 18, you should be able to decide to do what you want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. But children cannot make these decisions.
It's everyone's responsibility to defend the children. The innocence of children is very precious, and it's our biblical stance as well, even as Christians, to defend the innocent. And there's a lot of infiltration in our systems, in our schools, and people trying to be parents, which is the government.
We have government after government has been taken over by these weird groups that are imposing their ideology on us. And look around, like there's a lot of people that are fed up. I mean, it takes a big issue to get Calgarians to come out.
As the signs say everywhere, it's leave our kids alone. I mean, it's one thing as an adult to be deciding about these things, but at the same time, these children are being indoctrinated.
I have grandkids as well, and what's happening in schools is just not right. What they're indoctrinating these kids with and showing them at such a young age and telling them about things that they should not know about until they're adults and they can make their own decisions. So I'm here today just to support parents' rights and that we should get back to what education is all about.
Let's get back to math, please. I used to work as an educational assistant for 10 years. I had grade 5ers that did not know their 5 times tables. Yeah. They didn't know how to read. Now, I had a grandniece come home at the end of the school year and said, "Mommy, I'm a Lesbian." So she doesn't know her times tables. She doesn't know what 3 times 3 is like she's supposed to, but she knows that she's a lesbian.
I feel very inspired by seeing how just a single protest in Calgary, how they evolved into this Canada-wide event. And I hope that all other cities are having really good turnout as well, because this is very important to show that we all are united, that it's not just a single Calgary that has their own opinion, that it's Canada, that it's the Canadians, that's the voice of the Canadians that we want to bring.
I think you should let her go.
Yeah, let her go.
Let her go.
Let her go. Let her go. Oh, start.
What did she do? She fingered?
Yeah.
What did she do? What did she do? What did she do?
What's called she put those things in our school. Those people to teach us about it. Everything.
But so what did she do to you at the car?
She was like
Did she give you
like she she stole the paper and I threw it like that and heavy like that.
Politicians, union heads, everyone else has made this political, has called this a hate group, have gone down that road. What do you make of politicians and unions getting active on this?
You know what? Biggest proof, if you go look at Alberta Teacher Association, ATA, or the union in Ontario, they failed at every level. There's a bunch of bureaucrats sitting behind desks. They don't care about kids because they don't have kids. Half of them either adopt dogs and the other half adopt cats, or they have no family value. They don't understand what the meaning for a father, to see the bright future in his kids' eyes. I'll tell you one thing, and I'll keep saying it. The teacher could forget my son's name after 2 years when he leave her class. But as a father, even if I'm blind, I could tell from the smell which one is my son among 1,000 people. They need to understand the relationship between the father and the kid, and a mother and a daughter. It's way stronger and more important than any politician or Alberta Teacher Association or whatever you call it. These guys are poisoning our kids' mind. LGBT ideology is one of the things that are poisoning our kids' minds. The dark left, the radical left, they're destroying our family value and our principle, and we need to stand to defend it. Sadly, they are fueling the hate. We have no hate toward them. We share all the love and respect with every human out there.
I mean, I would love them to come and see how peaceful, and there's no any form of hatred to this movement. Everyone is standing in peace. Police is controlling the whole march. There's not a single drop of hatred to any sort of movement. And I've made it clear, we're not protesting against those individuals who are standing on the other side. We are protesting against the government, which is imposing that in the education system. So it's not a matter of hatred, it's a matter of preserving values, families, and traditions.
Unions should stay doing what they're supposed to do and represent their people that pay into their unions. Right. But when they come here and they start rallying up another counter-protest side over just parents who just want to make sure that their kids are taught right in this world and not have to be indoctrinated into another world of all this telling people about, or telling kids about sexual things that don't need to be enlightened in their life until they're older. They need to stay out of it. And when they're starting to put together groups to come out and counter-protest, parents that just want the best for their children, that kind of goes to show you who they're really all about.
Isn't that a sign of weakness when you can't have a debate that you have to resort to name calling? Like, actually think about how weak that is. And all that's happened is a small group of people that were very focused with a specific agenda got their people into place to have undue influence in our institutions while we were all asleep. Because the biggest lie we've lived is that you didn't have to be involved at all levels. And we were taught that.
The leadership, it all comes down to the leadership of these things. So we're letting activists take over unions. And unions are a great example. They shouldn't be here. Yeah. I mean, the role of a union is to protect it's collective bargaining and work with the... So if this was let's say a protest against teachers, sure, I could see the unions coming to their defense. This isn't a protest against teachers. So why are unions suddenly joining in a counter-protest against citizens? That makes no sense to me.
I think this is the death of the unions. I think if the unions just become activists on ideological grounds, they're just being the jackboots for the regime. That's what it is. This is just like what happened in Europe during the Soviet time or in Germany during the Nazis. They're weaponizing organizations to try to put down dissent and pass their ideology through.
Because it's in their interests, like when everybody is separate, we're not power. But when we're together, that's what makes us powerful.
It's their go-to, right? It's a fear of what the message is bringing across today, for example, and I think they just have nothing better to say but to just accuse us of what we are not.
Canadians were allied that the government is good, that the government will take care of you, and including your children, that we got your back, and trust us. And I think that trust used to be decades ago, but now we're dealing with monsters. We're dealing with pathological liars. We're dealing with actors. Don't kid yourself. Politics right now is a Hollywood production. It's you got a bunch of actors playing a game of we are here for you, while at the same time they're stripping the parents' rights, they're destroying their children, and they're not stopping.
For my children, I want them to live in a country that is free. Free from abuse, free from indoctrination, free from perverted sexualization. Let the children be children. But they don't want that. Therefore we, the parents, the mothers and the fathers, we must rise up and stand up and push this evil away.
How do parents reclaim authority in education and become, once again, the primary educators of their children?
Well, what's really important for us to understand is actually they already have that right. People are trying to take that right away, and the United Nations Charter on Children actually says one of the most important rights a child has is protection from with their parents. Their parents have a right to protect them. And actually, so it's our side here that are fighting for the rights of children, including the right to be protected by their parents. It's the other side that says we need to keep secrets from the parents. They assume all parents are criminals, are going to harm their kids if they come out as gay. Unlike this father who simply said, look, I want to process this with you. I want to help you understand what's going on, because most of these kids truly don't understand what's happening.
The biggest lie we've lived is that you didn't have to be involved at all levels. And we were taught that. I mean, we've got a whole group of people here. We'll have people watching your podcast who really have not been involved. And it's because we thought we didn't have to be. And that's the lie. We're actually all personally responsible. Like now going forward, we're in Alberta. How many kids are we jabbing with that COVID-19 vaccine? I call that homicide. And why aren't you writing your MLAs? There's 87 MLAs? If everyone watching your show would write all 87 MLAs today saying, you got to stop jabbing those kids, it'll start having an influence. Like, you have to start taking action. There's a whole bunch of things you're upset about. Change it. Because we can. That's the beautiful thing. Is I think it's almost like we were asleep. And all this madness and noise is now waking us up. And it's like, okay, I've got to get my house in order again. And so this is an exciting and beautiful time. And the historians are going to write about what we do here. Because we're defining what Canada is now for our grandchildren.
This is the first step in the right direction. If people think we're going to quit today on September 20th, they're absolutely wrong. Today is a shifting date for us. Alberta Teacher Association, according to their leader today, I heard a statement, he's a liar. He claimed that we're misled and the information we provided is not right. Well, I'll tell you what, homeschooling, one of the options. This protest in front of Harry Hayes next to protest, every parent will be protesting on the school, in front of the school, and we will shut the school down. They need to understand we are not here to gamble with our kids' life, and we will take every step to protect them.
Voter turnout in school board elections is often lower than 20%. If we can take over the school boards, we can fix all of this. School boards hire and fire principals. School boards are in charge of funding. It is the school boards where we will fix this, and that is Take Back Alberta's singular mission after this AGM.
All the parents, go to your parent-teacher interviews, let them know what they expect out of their parents or their teachers, and also go to all your school boards. Get on the school board. Start changing it from within. If we just sit back and just allow things to happen, that's when we get into the whole COVID thing too.
Parents have one of two choices: to either change it, and the government got no choice in that, and many other provinces have already changed the curriculum and listened to the parents, or parents will be leaving. Not this province, but this country.
The villains, the gangsters, the totalitarian regime, whatever you want to call them, they always have the same modus operandi. They are vilifying other side for the very thing they are doing. So as a reminder, from history, when the Nazis attacked Poland, they called Polish patriots that were fighting bandits. When I was growing up under the boots of the socialism and communism, they were calling patriotic Poles criminals. Nothing is new under the sun. It's the same game. They're flipping the page and, how to become a tyrant. How you fight that? Well, let me ask you this question. How important to you are your children? Because if they are as important to you as they are important to me, which is they are everything, I'm willing to die for my children. That's how far I would go. Then it's time for Canadians, Albertans to stand up. Politicians are not doing that because they are in it. They're part of the problem. We must replace them. And that's why I created the political party that will immediately, upon election, we will combat pedophilia. We will combat grooming of the children. My answer and my political answer to this is from the Solidarity Movement of Alberta. It's very simple. Leave the children to be children. Let them be children. What's wrong with you? I will add this to this. If you have an urge to play with little children, strip yourself naked or in any sexual way, you're a pervert. Full stop. And as society, we must stop perverts. We used to do that, but it seems more and more that this is like a revived Roman Empire where everything is a go.
It's time for us to get involved. And if there's anything we learned at the Citizens Inquiry, it's first of all, we're not alone. We don't have to be afraid anymore, and it's time for us to get involved. And so this is just on one issue, but we need to get involved at every issue. The school board, municipal, provincial, if you're a professional, get involved in your college, federal. We need everyone to be joining the political parties, the whole thing. So I'm here because we can't sit still anymore. And it's actually so exciting because we've all been, shocked and afraid for years. But that happens when we're surprised and we're kind of rolled over. And we don't have to be scared anymore. We're consolidating, we're getting together, we're going to peacefully take our institutions back. So I'm actually really excited about what's happening, and I'm excited about this crowd, and I'm excited about different communities coming together, because that's how this happens. They divide us.
Yeah.
And we're all the same. We are all the same.
Well, the second March for the Million March for Children is underway behind me. This is actually the final event scheduled for today. So we're expecting the crowds to dissipate after this. Despite a couple altercations and a few raised voices, things remained entirely peaceful, with police on site all day today to ensure that the peace was maintained. Events like this are taking place right across this great country. We're going to have coverage of all of those at stopclassroomgrooming.com, and we'll continue to cover these stories as they unfold. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Sos. Well, Rebel News is covering these protests, the Million March for Children, right across this country like nobody else. And right now we're actually across the street where the mainstream media covers it, but that's not where we're used to being. We get on the front lines and cover these stories and get perspectives up close and personal. You can find all of that coverage, all of our coverage of these protests right across Canada at stopclassroomgrooming.com.
I've been on a lot of podcasts lately, and I've just been shocked at how a lot of podcasters are not being supported by their viewers. And I would say to anyone watching that is not supporting, shame on you. Because the only reason this crowd's here, the only reason I'm here, the only reason people have any idea what's going on is it's because of people like you. And you guys have to be supported financially. You have to be supported in prayer. So I'm just calling on the people watching your show to understand you can't not help out anymore. And that includes finances. We're in a war, and the war needs resources, and it's time to start supporting people.